You have a drawer, or maybe a folder on your desktop, that I call the graveyard of potential. Inside it are the remnants of things you started with intense, burning enthusiasm, and then dropped the moment they got hard. The expensive watercolour set used once. The coding bootcamp you researched for weeks but never enrolled in. The novel that has exactly one perfect chapter and nothing else. You tell your friends you just lost interest or got busy, but you and I know the truth. You didn't stop because you were bored. You stopped because you weren't instantly magnificent. You stopped because the gap between your taste and your ability felt physically painful. This isn't a lack of discipline. It is a specific biological reaction to the unknown. Today, we are going to talk about the all-or-nothing paralysis and why your brain treats being a beginner as a threat to your survival. There is a strange comfort in never trying. As long as you don't actually paint the picture, you can remain a theoretical great artist. As long as you don't write the book, you can maintain the identity of a talented writer who just hasn't found the time. This is what psychologists call ego protection. The moment you start, you risk proving that you are average. And for you, being average feels like a death sentence. The world looks at your half-finished projects and calls you flaky or lazy. But laziness is a preference for rest. You aren't resting, you are stressing. You are in a state of high-alert anxiety, constantly monitoring yourself for flaws. We need to relabel this behavior immediately. You are not lazy. You are suffering from a hyperactive threat detection system disguised as high standards. Let's look at the data. Clinical psychology distinguishes between two very different types of striving. The first is adaptive perfectionism. This is the healthy drive to do well, coupled with the ability to accept that learning curves exist. The second, and this is where you live, is maladaptive perfectionism. According to a 2024 study on parenting and uncertainty, published in the Journal of Anthropological Studies, maladaptive perfectionism isn't about the joy of success. It is driven entirely by the fear of failure. The study highlights that this trait causes states of deep, unjustified anxiety. When you quit a hobby because you aren't perfect, you aren't making a value judgment. You are executing a safety maneuver. Your brain equates making a mistake with danger, so it pulls the emergency brake to stop the car before you can crash. But here's the twist. It's not just that you hate failing. It's that you cannot stand not knowing if you will fail. This is a crucial distinction. In clinical terms, this is called Intolerance of Uncertainty, or IU. A 2024 paper classifies IU as a psychological allergy. Think about that phrasing. If you have a peanut allergy, a single peanut triggers a massive, disproportionate systemic reaction. If you have high IU, a tiny amount of uncertainty, like not knowing if your sketch will look good, triggers a massive emotional reaction. Research shows a statistically significant correlation between high IU and maladaptive perfectionism. Your brain looks at the blank page, realizes it cannot guarantee the outcome, and panics. Quitting is the medicine. Quitting resolves the uncertainty instantly. The moment you decide, I'm not doing this, the anxiety vanishes. It feels like relief, but it's actually avoidance. If you're nodding your head, if you feel that wave of recognition that says, I thought I was the only one, then you are in the right place. We are building a library of these invisible behaviors here. We don't fix people because they aren't broken. We explain them so they can operate the machinery better. If you want to understand your own wiring, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We are dissecting the neurology of the gifted kid burnout, one layer at a time. Let's go deeper into the neuroscience. Why does a bad drawing feel like a physical threat? Why does your heart race when you think about showing your work? Evolutionarily, human beings are pack animals. In the ancestral environment, being competent meant being useful, and being useful meant staying in the tribe. Being incompetent, failing publicly, risked rejection, and alone a human dies. Modern neuroscience suggests that social rejection shares neural circuitry with physical pain. The amygdala, your brain's threat detector, doesn't always distinguish between "a tiger is chasing me" and "I'm about to look stupid." When you engage in maladaptive perfectionism, you are responding to what researchers call a social threat signal. You aren't trying to paint a picture, you are trying to prevent exile. This is why the advice, "just have fun with it," never works for you. Your amygdala doesn't want to have fun, it wants to survive. Imagine a pristine white sheet of paper. You make one small mark in the wrong place. For an adaptive perfectionist, that mark is just data. It tells them where to adjust. For you, that mark is a contamination. It ruins the purity of the potential. This is the all or nothing switch. Because you are driven by the need to avoid negative evaluation, any evidence of imperfection feels catastrophic. It's like an ink smudge on a wedding dress. You don't try to clean it, you want to burn the dress. You abandon the project to hide the flaw. This protects your ego in the short term. I didn't fail, I just quit. But it devastates your self-trust in the long term. You begin to accumulate a history of quitting, which only reinforces the belief that you aren't capable of finishing things. I want to armor you against the critics who say this is all in your head. A study published in the Journal of Anxiety Disorders found that Intolerance of Uncertainty fully mediated the relationship between perfectionism and obsessive symptoms. Another study showed that inhibitory IU, which is literally freezing in the face of the unknown, is the bridge between wanting to be perfect and getting stuck in repetitive negative thinking. This means that the paralysis isn't a character flaw. It is a mechanical output of two variables, your high standards and your low tolerance for the unknown. When those two meet, the gears lock up. The science says you aren't lacking willpower. You are experiencing a cognitive deadlock. Your brain is hitting the gas and the brake at the exact same time. What happens after you quit? You don't just move on, you ruminate. Research links perfectionism to repetitive negative thinking. You replay the failure. You analyze why you didn't stick with it. You construct a narrative that says, "I am not the kind of person who follows through." This is the most dangerous part of the cycle. You are training your brain to associate starting new things with eventual shame. So, the next time inspiration strikes, the barrier to entry is even higher. You aren't just fighting the difficulty of the task, you are fighting the accumulated memory of every other time you quit. This creates a state of chronic, low-level dread. You want to create, but you are terrified of the inevitable crash. Now, let's flip the script. I told you we would find the advantage. And there is one. The same machinery that causes this paralysis is capable of incredible depth. The reason you have intolerance of uncertainty is that your brain is a simulation engine. You are constantly running future scenarios to optimize outcomes. That is a leadership trait. That is a strategy trait. The reason you have perfectionism is that you have a vision for quality that exceeds the average person's. You can see the gap between good and great. The world is built by people who refuse to accept mediocrity. The problem isn't your standards. The problem is your timeline. You are demanding that your output matches your taste on day one. We don't need to lower your standards. We need to extend your timeline. So, how do we hack the system? We treat intolerance of uncertainty like the allergy it is. We use immunotherapy. We microdose the allergen. You need to expose yourself to small, controlled amounts of failure where the stakes are zero. I want you to do something specifically badly. Draw a terrible picture on a napkin and throw it away. Write a paragraph that makes no sense. When you do this, you are engaging the amygdala, letting it scream, "Threat!" and then showing it that you didn't die. You are recalibrating your threat detection system. You are teaching your nervous system that being a beginner is safe. This isn't about lowering your standards for your life's work. It's about creating a sandbox where standards don't apply, so you can actually play again. I need you to hear this clearly. The fact that you care this much is rare. Most people are comfortable with good enough. You are not. You are tortured by the potential for excellence. That torture is simply energy that hasn't found its conduit yet. You are not broken because you stop. You stop because you care too much to see it done wrong. We just need to decouple the caring from the fear. Imagine what you could build if you could tolerate the messy middle. Imagine what you could create if the unknown felt like an adventure instead of a threat. That version of you exists. It's just waiting for you to feel safe enough to come out. Let's apply this to another area: social plans. You know that feeling when you make plans in a burst of energy, but as the date approaches, you feel a tightening in your chest? And when you finally cancel, you feel a rush of euphoria? That is the exact same mechanism. The social event represents uncertainty. Who will be there? What will we talk about? Will I be awkward? Your brain calculates the variables, sees high uncertainty, and triggers the avoidance protocol. Cancelling eliminates the uncertainty. It is an immediate reward. But just like with your hobbies, it reinforces the idea that you can't handle the situation. You aren't antisocial. You are intolerant of the variables you can't control. This specific type of freezing, whether it's before a party or before writing an email, is linked to what researchers call inhibitory anxiety. It activates the Behavioral Inhibition System, BIS, in the brain. The BIS is designed to stop movement in the presence of danger. It says, "Don't go out there, a predator might be watching." In the modern world, the predator is the possibility of an awkward silence or a rejected manuscript. A study in the Journal of Behavioral Therapy connects high BIS sensitivity directly to maladaptive perfectionism. You are biologically wired to freeze first and ask questions later. Knowing this changes the game. When you feel the urge to cancel or quit, you can say, "This is my BIS firing. This is a false alarm." You can separate the biological signal from the reality. Here is the hidden advantage of the inhibitory system. People with sensitive BIS are excellent risk managers. You see problems before they happen. You anticipate social friction. You notice details that others miss. In a team setting, you are the one who asks, "What if this goes wrong?" That is an invaluable skill. The world needs people who pause and evaluate. The goal isn't to destroy your inhibition system, it's to put it in the passenger seat. You want to consult it, not let it drive. You can say, "Thank you for flagging that risk, but we are going to do it anyway." That is the shift from paralysis to courage. Courage is not the absence of the signal, it is acting in spite of it. We have established that quitting is a safety behavior. It keeps your ego safe. It keeps your identity as a potential genius intact. But safety has a cost. The cost is that you never actually become who you are supposed to be. You remain a collection of started projects and cancelled plans. The pain of discipline is less than the pain of regret, but the pain of uncertainty is what stops you from starting. You have to decide that the discomfort of not knowing is a price you are willing to pay for the life you want. You have to be willing to be the fool in the tarot deck, the one who walks off the cliff of the unknown, because that is the only way the journey starts. So, to the writer with the empty notebook, to the artist with the dried up paints, to the person staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m, wondering why they can't just do the thing. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are a high-performance machine with a hair-trigger safety sensor. You have a deep capacity for quality and a profound sensitivity to the world. These are gifts, even if they feel like curses right now. Your job is not to fix yourself. Your job is to gently teach your nervous system that it is safe to be imperfect. It is safe to not know the outcome. Pick up the pen. Make a mess. Let it be bad, because bad is the only road to good. And you, of all people, deserve to see how good you can eventually be. If this analysis resonated with you, if it gave you a name for something you've felt for years, then you are one of us. This channel is dedicated to the people who think too much, feel too deeply, and worry too often. We are investigating the human mind from the inside out. Click subscribe to join the investigation. And in the comments, tell me, what is the one hobby you quit because you weren't instantly perfect? Let's fill the comments with our failed projects and turn that graveyard into a gallery. I'll see you in the next one.